He had cables running throughout their neighborhood, but couldn't get the cable company to bury the cables. And that has left the homeowners with a question: does the cable company have to bury the cables on your property? It is tonight's Help Me Howard with Patrick Fraser.
A lot of people have Comcast Cable. Not a lot of people have Comcast cables.
This is their burying. There it is. It's coming right up. People can trip right over that.
Dean Kautzmann is on the board at Valencia Village in Davie, a position he takes seriously, especially when it comes to the safety of the residents.
When things come to our attention that have to be addressed, it's our responsibility to act quickly because otherwise you're leaving yourself open to a lawsuit.
Which takes us back outside, where about 3/4 of the 311 homes enjoy Comcast Cable, but not those cables.
They bury the cable just below the surface, 1 inch below the surface. And here in South Florida, you get a good rainstorm, that 1 inch of cover disappears, and now you've got exposed cable.
Dean says they've asked Comcast for a couple of years to bury the cables.
Our property manager has toured the property with Comcast construction manager, and they've seen the problem. It's not like they don't know the problem exists, but it never gets resolved.
And then, of course, what the board feared happened.
And here we are faced with our worst nightmare, which is a lawsuit for an exposed cable that a resident tripped over. That's not our fault, but we're the ones that are getting sued, so it's extremely frustrating.
Dean wasn't surprised someone tripped over the cables. He nearly did when he was showing them to us.
And they walk by, maybe it's at night, they walk by and they just get their fingers all caught up right here, and off they go, like myself.
The association started counting the exposed wires, estimating that the cables running to 50 homes were above the ground. Too many for the small association to bury.
We pay our maintenance people to do a maintenance job. We can't afford to be paying them to do somebody else's job.
Howard, it's the cable company's wires, but it's the village's property. So who has to bury the cables?
The cable company. Comcast has an easement which gives them the right to run the cables, but along with that easement comes the responsibility to place them in a manner that does not endanger anyone.
The problem was solved quickly. The day we interviewed Dean, residents went on social media telling each other Help Me Howard was out there regarding the exposed cables. When I called Comcast, they had hired a subcontractor to bury the cables, and they did. Their corporate office told me they were not aware of the problem until we went out there and it was announced by residents on social media. They gave me several different ways for people to notify them, including social media, if they have a problem. And Howard, what about the lawsuit from a resident who says they tripped over a cable?
This is what the law calls comparative negligence. If it gets to court, a jury could blame the cable company, the association if they didn't warn the residents about the cables, or the jury could blame the resident who tripped for not paying attention, or they could make all three share the blame.
The property management is happy. I'm happy.
That's the goal of Help Me Howard.
It was a long time coming, 2 years trying to get them to do it, and it took Help Me Howard and Patrick Fraser to come out and get it done.
And to Comcast's credit, as soon as they saw on social media we were out there, their corporate office took care of the problem. And we mentioned Comcast is following social media. For example, on their app, you can contact them and they'll call you back so you don't have to wait on hold for service. The link to all their social media information is at WSVN.com under this Help Me Howard story. A problem left you buried in frustration? Need someone to cover for you? Contact us. We'll channel our energy to clear up the picture for you. With this Help Me Howard, I'm Patrick Fraser, 7 News.